The most powerful being in Middle-earth was not Gandalf, nor Sauron, nor even the elven queen Galadriel. He was a laughing, singing enigma who lived in a small house in a forgotten wood. The One Ring, which could dominate the wills of gods and kings, had absolutely no effect on him, a feat that makes Gandalf's struggle seem like a battle of a lesser power. This is the story of the profound mystery of Tom Bombadil, the Master, the Eldest and Fatherless. And to understand him is to understand a secret truth that sits at the very heart of Tolkien's mythology. Our introduction to this strange power does not come in a king's court or a wizard's tower, but in a place of deep fear, the Old Forest, a place that did not love things that walked on two legs. It was a relic of the primeval world, a dense and tangled wood that held a consciousness of its own, a deep, brooding resentment for all who were not trees. It was here, as the hobbits fled the pursuing Nazgul, that they became lost. The forest itself seemed to conspire against them, the paths shifting, the trunks closing in like the bars of a cage. The malice of the wood found its heart in a single ancient entity, Old Man Willow, a great gray willow tree that brooded by the waters of the river, Withywindle. Its influence spread like a sickness, a song of sleep and weariness that lulled the unwary into a fatal slumber. It was a power of immense, vegetative evil, and it ensnared the hobbits. Merry and Pippin were taken first, swallowed by a great crack in the willow's trunk. Frodo and Sam, fighting the tree's hypnotic song, were powerless, their small swords useless against the ancient wood. Despair began to set in. Here, in the heart of a forgotten forest, the quest to save the world was about to end, not in a grand battle, but in silent, suffocating defeat. It was then that a sound broke the spell, a voice, singing nonsense. Hey doll, merry doll, ring a dong dillo, ring a dong, hop along, fall lol the willow. Tom Bum, jolly Tom, Tom Bombadillo. Into this scene of ancient dread walked a figure of pure, unadulterated joy. He wore an old hat with a long blue feather, a blue jacket, and bright yellow boots. He had blue eyes and a long brown beard. He was Tom Bombadil. He approached the malevolent, hobbit-eating tree not with a sword, but with a song. He did not fight Old Man Willow. He scolded it. He sang to the ancient evil, commanding it to release the hobbits. And the tree, which had defied them with primordial power, obeyed him without question. It bent to his will, as if he were its master. He was its master. Who was this being who could command the very substance of the world with a nursery rhyme? Tom led the bewildered halflings out of the forest's oppressive gloom to a small cottage nestled amongst the downs. His house was a sanctuary, a pocket of peace and light carved out of the brooding wilderness. Here, another mystery awaited them. Goldberry, the river daughter. She was beautiful, clad in silver green, with a voice like the sound of a clear, cool stream. Her presence filled the small house with a tranquility as profound as the forest's malice had been. She was a power in her own right, an ancient spirit of the waters, yet she called Tom her master. The hobbits, awed and confused, finally asked her the question that burned in their minds. Who is Tom Bombadil? Her answer only deepened the enigma. He is, she said simply. Not what he is, just that he is. Later, the hobbits asked Tom himself. His reply was one of the most significant and mysterious statements in the entire legendarium. He leaned forward, his bright blue eyes suddenly ancient and deep, and he spoke a truth that stretches back into the unrecorded dawn of time. Eldest? That's what I am, he said. Mark my words, my friends. Tom was here before the river and the trees. Tom remembers the first raindrop and the first acorn. He made the paths before the big people, and saw the little people arriving. He was here before the kings and the graves and the Barrow-wights. When the elves passed westward, Tom was here already, before the seas were bent. He knew the dark under the stars when it was fearless, before the Dark Lord came from outside. This was not a boast. It was a statement of fact, a truth so ancient that it redefined the very history of Middle-earth. Before the elves, the most ancient of all races, before the dwarves were awakened, before even the Valar, the gods of this world, had fully shaped the lands and the seas, he was already there. He remembers a time before evil itself had a name. But if he is the eldest, what is he? The full, terrifying scale of Tom's nature was not revealed until the next day. Emboldened by the safety of the house, Frodo found himself telling Tom and Goldberry everything. He spoke of his flight from the Shire, of the Black Riders, and of the terrible burden he carried. He spoke of the ring. Tom listened, his face for a moment sober and thoughtful. And then he made a simple, terrifying request. Show it to me, he said, with a casualness that defied belief. Tom took the ring. He held up the masterwork of Sauron, the vessel of his malice and will, the one object that could dominate all of Middle-earth, and he brought it to his eye like a man inspecting a trinket. Then, with a chuckle, he slipped the one ring onto his little finger, and absolutely nothing happened. He did not vanish. The world did not waver. The ring, which held sway over mortal and immortal alike, was to him a mere piece of gold. He laughed, and with a flick of his wrist made the ring itself disappear, then produced it again from his other hand. A simple conjurer's trick performed with the most dangerous artifact in existence. He then handed it back to Frodo, who, in a moment of disbelief and suspicion, put the ring on himself. Frodo vanished from the sight of his friends, but not from Tom's. The master of the house looked directly at the empty space where Frodo stood and called out, "Hey, come Frodo there. Where be you a-going? Take off your pretty gold ring." He saw Frodo. He saw him when no other could. The ring's power of invisibility, its connection to the Wraith world, was as meaningless to Tom as its power to corrupt. The will of Sauron, a force that bent the world, shattered against Tom Bombadil like a wave against a cliff. This immunity begs the greatest question of all. Why wasn't he the one to take the ring to Mordor? This very question was asked by the wisest beings left in Middle-earth during the Council of Elrond. As the great and powerful debated what to do with the ring, it was Erestor, an elf lord of Rivendell, who proposed what seemed like the perfect solution. Give the ring to Tom Bombadil. He is beyond its reach. He could keep it safe from Sauron forever. The logic was flawless. But it was Gandalf who explained why this perfect solution was impossible. He would not have taken the ring, Gandalf stated. That command would have been beyond his power. He is his own master, but he cannot alter the ring itself, nor break its power over others. Gandalf confirmed that Tom was a being of immense and unique power, but that power was contained within a domain of his own choosing, the Old Forest and the Barrow Downs. He would not, and perhaps could not, extend his influence beyond those borders. More critically, Gandalf revealed the fundamental truth of Tom's nature. If he were given the ring, the wizard explained, he would soon forget it, or most likely throw it away. Such things have no hold on his mind. Tom would not guard the ring because he could not comprehend its importance. The desire for power, the very concept that fueled Sauron in the ring, was utterly alien to him. He was not good in opposition to evil. He simply was. And the struggles of the world were not his concern. Gandalf's final pronouncement was the most sobering of all. In a world conquered by Sauron, Tom Bombadil would be the last to fall, but he would fall. So we have a being immune to the ring's power, yet vulnerable to the Dark Lord's ultimate victory, a master in his own land, but one who would not act beyond it. This paradox forces us to confront the core theories about his very existence, theories that Tolkien himself encouraged but never resolved. The most common theory is that Tom Bombadil is a Maya. The Maiar are of the same order as Gandalf, Saruman, and even Sauron. They are Ainur, angelic spirits who descended into Arda at the beginning of time to help the Valar shape the world. This explanation seems plausible. It would account for his immortality, his inherent power, and his deep connection to the natural world. Perhaps Tom was a Maya of nature, a spirit of the earth who, unlike Gandalf, never took on a specific mission, but simply chose to remain in the world, living in and with it. But the evidence against this theory is substantial, and it comes from the highest authorities. The ring had a profound effect on other Maiar. It tempted Gandalf constantly. It utterly corrupted Saruman. It was the very essence of the will of their fallen brother, Sauron. Yet Tom treated it like a child's toy. Why would he be so uniquely and completely immune? Furthermore, Elrond, who had lived for thousands of years and was counted among the wisest, did not recognize him as a Maia. When Frodo called Tom the master of wood, water, and hill, Elrond did not correct him, but he added a crucial clarification. He is a strange creature. The Elves, who knew the Maiar well, saw Tom as something else entirely. The final argument against this theory comes from Tom's own mouth. Eldest. The Maiar entered Arda with the Valar to give it shape and form, but Tom Bombadil claims to remember a time before them, a time before the seas were bent and the first elves walked the starlit lands. If the wisest of the elves, who lived in the light of the two trees and conversed with the Maiar, could not identify him as one of their kind, if his own words place his memory before their arrival, then the very foundations of the world's order must be questioned. We must look to a higher power. Could Tom Bombadil be one of the Valar themselves, hiding in plain sight? Could Tom Bombadil be one of the Valar themselves, hiding in plain sight? The Valar are the powers of the world, the architects of creation. It would certainly explain Tom's immense power. Some have theorized he could be Asule, the smith, who so loved the physical substance of Arda that he chose to remain within it in a humble form. Or perhaps Orom, the great huntsman, who roamed the forests of Middle-earth long before the elves awoke. But this, like the Maya theory, shatters against one inconvenient truth. It shatters against the word of the author himself. And it begs an even more terrifying question. What if Tom Bombadil isn't on the cosmic org chart at all? What if he exists outside of it? Think about it. The Valar are not neutral. They are deeply, passionately invested in the fate of Arda and the children of Ilúvatar. It was they who waged war on the first Dark Lord, Morgoth. It was they who sent the Istari, Gandalf among them, to aid the free peoples against Sauron. For one of the Valar to simply abdicate all responsibility, to sing nonsense songs while the world teetered on the brink of eternal darkness, it's unthinkable. It runs contrary to their very nature. No, Tom is not a Vala in hiding. He is something stranger, something older. And this is where our understanding of Middle-earth must expand, to embrace a possibility that is both terrifying and beautiful. What if Tom Bombadil is the living embodiment of Arda itself? Not a spirit sent to shape the world, but the spirit of the world. The music of the Ainur, sung at the dawn of time, gave birth to a living world. Perhaps Tom is the consciousness of that world, the primal, uncorrupted life force of Middle-earth, made manifest. This theory explains everything. His claim to be eldest becomes literal truth. He was there before the river and the trees because he is the memory of the river and the trees. He was there before the first raindrop and the first acorn. And his immunity to the ring? It suddenly becomes perfectly logical. The Ring of Power is an instrument of domination, designed to control the wills of others and bend the very lands of Middle-earth to Sauron's purpose. But how can you dominate the land itself with a tool forged from that same land? It would be like trying to bribe the ocean with a cup of salt water. The ring's core concept is meaningless to him. He desires nothing, because he is everything, within his own domain. He is the song, and the ring is but a single discordant note he can choose to ignore. This leads us to the most radical, most debated, and most profound theory of all, one that, if true, recasts the entire legendarium. The creator of all things in Tolkien's universe is a being named Eru Ilúvatar, God. He is outside of creation, transcendent. But what if he wanted to place a small piece of himself within it? Not to rule, not to command, but simply to be, to experience his own creation, unburdened by the struggles for power and dominion that defined its history. Could Tom Bombadil be an avatar of Eru himself? It seems blasphemous. But consider the evidence. Absolute power in his domain, total imperviousness to the ultimate evil, a nature that is not good in opposition to evil, but exists on a plane where that conflict is an irrelevant footnote. He is a walking, talking paradox. A being of infinite power who desires only to sing to the river daughter and gather water lilies. This, then, is the ultimate riddle. A god in a yellow hat, a creator content with a river daughter's song. But perhaps, in our search for a grand, cosmic answer, we have missed the point entirely. Perhaps Tom Bombadil isn't a puzzle to be solved. Perhaps he is a lesson to be learned. Tolkien himself called Tom an intentional enigma. When asked to explain him, he simply said that some things in any world should remain a mystery, even to its creator. Tom Bombadil is the mystery at the heart of Middle-earth. He is the deliberate gap in the map, the unanswered question in the lore. He doesn't fit the cosmic order because he was never meant to. He represents everything that the great wars and the struggles for power are not. He is the joy of a song for its own sake, the peace of a quiet wood, the unshakable reality of the earth beneath our feet. While the kings and wizards of the world play their desperate game for the fate of civilization, Tom Bombadil is a reminder that the world will go on singing its own tune, long after their struggles are dust. He is not a player in the great game. He is the spectator who finds the game itself a bit silly. He is the world that existed before the children of Ilúvatar, and the world that will remain after them. He is the master of wood, water, and hill, not because he conquered them, but because he is of them. In a world defined by conflict, he is the embodiment of pure, unconflicted being. So who is Tom Bombadil? He is the spirit of Arda. He is a forgotten Maya. He is an avatar of God. Or maybe he is just Tom Bombadil, merry, bright, and older than the rain. And perhaps that is the only answer we will ever need, and the most profound one of all. The history of Arda is filled with such enigmas, shadows, and forgotten songs. If you wish to journey deeper into the lore of Middle-earth and uncover the tales that shaped its ages, join our fellowship. Subscribe to the _Silmarillion_Chronicles and let us explore the Elder Days